Right, so this is my War of the Roses themed Brettonian army for Warhammer the Old World. And by that I mean it's pretty much a War of the Roses era army using historicals, but sort of using the fantasy element to let me get away with a load of anachronism and creative license. So things like mixed armours and sort of getting a bit more creative with the surcoats. So it's kind of split into a few sections as I've got it deployed here. You've got Edward IV commanding sort of the central block. You've got Richard III, his brother, commanding the cavalry. You've got a division of Bill and some cannon with the Duke of Norfolk at the back there. And you've got the Earl of Kent with some pike, some handguns, some crossbows and some cannon, and then a wee baggage train. So I'll just take you through kind of what my thinking was. So these are the foot knights. They're all the miniatures pretty much are, in fact entirely, they're all Perry miniatures. A mix of the Agincourt and War of the Roses era miniatures. So you've got a mix of like early and mid to late 15th century armours and things. But I like that mix. I like the bassinet helm and the sallet helm all together. I know it has a fantasy feel to it that I like. The flags are a mix of these ones are Pete's flags, and then this one is Freezy Water. They're Freezy Water flag sheets. So you've got Edward IV in the middle there, with some knights behind him. And now this with the surcoats, initially I was kind of going sort of all Yorkist, War of the Roses era blokes, but then I just decided, I got this big book of heraldry and I was just reading it, and I decided to branch out a bit more and look at some earlier, some Lancastrian surcoats that I just like the look of, some not even War of the Roses era surcoats, some sort of, I ended up painting some blokes who were sort of notable characters. So this is, turns out is, I picked it because I like the look of it, but it's the surcoat of John Oldcastle, who was the inspiration for Falstaff. There's also, when I liked, the bloke's actual name was Roger Cockerell, and he has 3 cockerels on his surcoat. Can't remember this bloke's name. I've got a video of when I was doing the surcoats, but his is 3 hedgehogs. Thought that was quite cute, on bright yellow. And then one particular chap, which again I just picked because I thought it was funny, the 3 moles of John de Mitford. And I recently went down south to make a longbow in a workshop, and at first we passed through Reaver's View between Scotland and England, and that was where the de Mitford family were kind of based, in that sort of Reesdale area, I think that's how you pronounce it. And also we visited a pub called the Three Moles, which was an area where their manor was or something in Sussex, or some connection to the land there. But yeah, anyway, moving on, you've got sort of De La Pole on this side. I like to imagine they've got their retinue, and then they command a sort of larger body of heavily armoured men-at-arms. Mix of surcoats in here. Some I'm happy with and some that I'm not as happy with, but I think that's part of it. You've just got to accept what you've done sometimes and enjoy the jank of it. And in this, there are a mix of different surcoats. So he's got a dagger on the front and 3 hands on the back. Sort of like an pretty evil lad. He's got 3 bats. These are all real surcoats, but kind of chopped and changed a bit. but they're not really War of the Roses era necessarily. And this is a mixture of two, in a kind of quartered pattern. I was just trying some things out. So that's kind of the foot knights. Oh, there's also Walter Blount, who's nicely illustrated in the Graham Turner War of the Roses book. In a similar pose to how he is in the book. And then the whole army is mainly dismounted, just following the historical English preference for fighting on foot, which is kind of continued from sort of the Anglo-Saxon era, really, and maintained through the Middle Ages, which I quite like, or quite enjoy. Or maybe sort of early and late, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, longbowman, mixture of the Agincourt and War of the Roses in the Murray and Blue split for Edward, or the Yorkist, and then the red ones are sort of more Duke of Norfolk colours. I didn't paint the badges on, that's just, I would say laziness, but there's quite a few of them here, so maybe it's understandable. That's kind of the most numerous troop, because that would generally be the most numerous troop in English armies in this sort of period. I've got William Neville here, Earl of Kent, who was actually, he's either the brother or the son of this bloke. Can't remember what his first name is, but he's another Neville. That's his livery, and then I've kind of wimped out a bit and only done the, is it Montague? I can't remember. But yeah, I've only done a quarter of his livery on him, but it's fine. But yeah, he's commanding some handguns and some crossbow and some pike, all of which, it's like a foreign mercenaries box you get. I've just painted them in his livery because it's quite similar to the Burgundian one anyway. Because at the time I didn't really want to paint any French, but maybe they are French, who knows. But yeah, he's got all the Euro troops. He's a bit of a Ramona in that sense. And you've got the his cannons and a little chap up there. Also got a baggage train, which will be good in this new edition. I've started this a year or so ago, maybe a bit longer than a year now, and was just doing it all dismounted just for the historical aspect. But with the new rules for Old World, probably it wouldn't be anywhere near competitive, but it's less bad than it previously was with the buffs to the infantry, so that's good. This is the Duke of Norfolk's division. You've got him at the front with his surcoat and banner and his retinue. 2 units of bill. The billmen I'd be using as yeoman guard with halberds, and the pike with spears. And tacking in 3 ranks I think is quite appropriate for pike because they're so long. So I think that the rules nicely illustrate the weapons they've got there. And then little farm, using some more of the Perry miniatures, labourers, just scenic purposes, and then the cavalry. You've got John Wenlock leading this group, sort of a bit more of a Yorkist mixed bag, that one. John Wogan, Welshman. Richard at the front here. Had I got paint in his eyes, he looks manic. The manic stare. I like his big banner. Percival Thirlwall there with the banner. A nice gloss varnished Arundel. I've seen a few iterations of his coat of arms, but this is the one I've gone with because it's the one I had the flag of. And then some yeoman cavalry in front, just to sort of scout ahead, really. And they're a mix. I think that was also an Arundel banner, and that was Earl Rivers, I think, was it Woodville or something? And I've just sort of mixed them together. with John Coombe as my mounted sergeant to kind of lead them. So yeah, that's sort of the whole bit of an overview and some of me thinking of it. I don't think I'll be able to use this in an actual game. I don't know if I'd have the patience for a 5,000 point game, but I'd be up for it if the opportunity arose. Might need a bit of a bigger board, but yeah, sick.